Welcome to Queen City Cyber Consulting's channel.
Well, happy Friday. If you haven't worked in the realm of incident response, um, you'll find out quickly as you enter the field that Friday, Saturday are not typically days off. Rather, they are days of work because that's usually when cyber attacks will occur. And that's when you will get the call to be available 24/7 until the incident is under control. Now, this week's little news brief's a little bit different. We already have the ongoing water system attacks, which has spread. There are more states reporting similar incidents within their systems. Please refer back to my previous video on that um, because it is ongoing. And now we have North Carolina ports being cyber attacked as well. And that happened just this week. I'm maybe a few days behind, but I didn't see it until today, surprisingly enough. But let's take a look at it and see what we can see. So, the detection date, August 4th, which would have been 3 days ago, there was some kind of what they call network anomaly detected, which led to a system-wide IT outage across all state ports. All state ports. That's important to keep in mind. This isn't just a one-off. This is across multiple different physical areas. Impacted facilities include right now Port of Wilmington, which is one of the primary deep water hubs for shipping, the Port of Morehead City, and also Charlotte Inland Port. All three at this point in time have been affected by the network anomaly that created a system-wide IT outage. What they've done thus far is basically shut their systems down, which led at least to what has been seen and reported in some newscasts. Their gate operations had to convert to manual processing rather than automated IT system processing. And then they have a multi-agency response. Now, if you've never taken part in one of those, they're very interesting. So what we're seeing there is you've got the U.S. Coast Guard Cyber, which I didn't even know the U.S. Coast Guard had a cyber unit, but they do apparently. CISA, which I've mentioned in some other videos before, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and whatever North Carolina DIT is, probably Department of Information Technology. And they are all coordinating. I would imagine there's probably some other federal agencies involved at this point, like the FBI, uh, because they typically do get involved with these kinds of cases. And if you work any kind of incident on a major incident, you're definitely going to be working with law enforcement throughout this. And so they're not really mentioned here, but I'll almost guarantee you that they are involved. So, what is the scope and impact that we know so far? So, the breach paralyzed their enterprise IT assets, their automated gate check-in systems, and even container movement tracking databases across all three of those sites that we just saw about. That's pretty severe and pretty widespread for a cyber attack like this. Their operational technology, or their OT, the cranes, physical vessel movement systems, and industrial controllers were segmented and so far have remained unimpacted, which is excellent. Thinking about the water supply issue, segmentation would really have been a good thing there as well. And since they can't really process a lot of this stuff by computer now, they're having to rely on manual processing for trucks going in and out of the gates. The gate openings were delayed. The containers were delayed in being offloaded and then put into, I guess, whatever area of the shipyard they needed to go. And that, of course, caused regional logistic backlogs, which, if this area is a deep water port, as was said, I can only imagine there's a lot of material that comes through there. And here we go. 4.4 million tons of cargo comes through these ports. It's a critical trade hub. It is what they call an economic engine. It has a large volume of scale. Um, and of course, it's an agricultural gateway for different goods to come in to the country through there. So you may actually see some delays even down the supply chain. Now, from what I've seen, they're getting back up and running. We are at roughly day 3 of this incident. So even though the investigation is ongoing, the recovery phase, if you think back to NIST or SANS, where we talked about the incident response process, the recovery phase is already underway, even while the investigation is ongoing. So you've got multiple concurrent lines of action operating here at the same time. So what's been said thus far, external threat actors, so this was definitely a cyber attack, compromised credentials or software vulnerabilities, they haven't said which yet, to get into the administrative IT networks. It shut down gate management software, forced a full failover to pen and paper processing protocols, which just slows traffic down at those gates. And they're probably pretty busy gates, given that these are pretty major shipping hubs. So one of the things I like to do in some tabletops, depending on what kind of business I'm dealing with, is force them to a failback, going back to pen and paper, because that is oftentimes what does happen during an incident. They are moving right now toward containment and mitigation. And bringing in external digital forensics teams, probably law enforcement coming in as well. And they're probably also reviewing those OT segment boundaries to ensure that they're still isolated from the rest of the network that is undergoing attack. Now, this is a critical infrastructure attack. So we've already had the water system hit, and now we're seeing shipping being hit. Um, maybe somebody needs to step up to the plate and say, hey, we've got an ongoing problem here. Now, I don't know any of the behind the scenes. I'm just a cybersecurity worker who watches the news and knows a little bit about what's going on. So there probably are people higher up the food chain than I am that are talking about this. But these seaports are critical. Now, we're already dealing with two major areas are shut down in the Middle East right now uh, due to war, due to missiles flying and ships being struck. So that's already a problem. If we start seeing these ports being hit by cyber attacks, we've got another issue at hand, because then the material may get to the port, but it's not going to leave the port in a timely and orderly manner to get downstream. So there have been numerous ransomware attacks. There was one a while back against a port, I think up in the northwest of the U.S. You also have state-sponsored advanced persistent threat groups, or APTs, that are seeking monetary value or possibly working for political reasons. So even if those OT systems are segmented and separate, disrupting just the IT gate infrastructure can really cause problems, depending on how long it lasts. So what do we have as far as the regulatory and compliance matrix? Well, you've got the MTSA Cyber Directive by the U.S. Coast Guard, which I guess is why they're involved. You've got incident reporting from CISA. It's a 72-hour mandated reporting for critical infrastructure attacks. You've got the state's own cyber directives that are out there as well. And then you've got NIST 800-82 Revision 3, which is the Operational Technology Security and Isolation Standards. All of those things are in play here. which is why you're seeing the wide range of people involved in the investigation. Now, I don't know that NIST does investigations, but they are definitely part of the process here. So hopefully they had an incident response playbook, which we've talked about in another video. It's following these different phases, and they're already in the rebuild process or the recovery process. And hopefully they've done their forensics, they've done their triage work, they've identified how the attackers got in and closed that door, and are now actively looking for any other doors that might be open or any back doors that the intruders may have left within those systems in the hopes that they may be able to combat. So there are some recommendations for anyone who is part of critical infrastructure. You need to have zero trust architecture set up. There has to be micro-segmentation within your network to protect the different areas that are running on IT. Identity hardening, again, using multi-factor authentication across all administrative accounts, VPNs, third-party vendor access needs to be monitored and reviewed routinely. And of course, testing, whether it's a tabletop, whether it's a pen test, whatever it may be, you definitely need to be doing stress tests to ensure that you're able to recover rapidly and well and keep things flowing. So that's your news for the day. Hopefully there's nothing else that comes out that I may have to do a video on, but happy Friday. Enjoy and go forth and conquer. Queen City Cyber Consulting signing off.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.